Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chasing a Murderer. And today we are going to talk about a case businesswoman Anna Walshe. She lives in an upper class community, 39 years old, mother of three, married to Brian Walshe. She works for a property management team in Washington, D.C. So her husband, Brian Walshe, is a little bit older than her. Let's go over the timeline. What we are learning is Anna Walshe, on December 27th of 2022, according to a few articles, Carrie Westbrook, which is Anna's friend, they make plans to go hang out at Anna's new townhouse that she bought in Washington, D.C. But because of the long hours she works, she lets her friend Carrie know that they're going to have to cancel. It's going to have to be delayed. Remember, Anna, her husband, their three children live in Cosset, and that residence mainly. So Anna and Carrie, they reschedule to meet in January 5th, 2023. December 28th, a Wednesday, Anna texts her friend Carrie and tells her that she got a new SIMS card. She tells Carrie that her device is working again. According to a police report, New Year's Eve is here, and Anna and her husband Brian, well, they host a friend for dinner. They ring in the new year, and then that host leaves around 1 or 1:30 a.m. We really don't get much more information on that. We learn that Anna actually lets her husband know early that morning that she has to leave because she has an emergency to deal with on one of the properties. According to later reports, Brian tells investigators that she was leaving that morning around 4 or 5 in the morning and she was carrying her bags. According to Brian, she's taken her ride share. For me, what doesn't make sense is she has to take or catch a plane in Logan January 3rd of 2023. According to friends and her family, well, this is something Anna does often. She commutes back and forth to and from DC. If you've ever been in this area, a lot of people commute. She has a vehicle that stays at the townhome that she bought. She works up to 60 hours a week and isn't in constant contact with her family, according to Brian. If you're not familiar with the story, it's about this time that she disappears. And I'm trying to figure out how to tell the story without repeating myself too much. So, we'll just go with the fact that days later, Anna's boss, employer, says Anna hasn't showed up for work, and he calls the police, or she. It was originally reported that Brian and her boss reported her missing on the same day at the same time. On January 9th, at his arraignment, it is said that it was the boss that actually called and reported her missing. So Anna has not been home for 3 to 4 days, yet Brian hasn't been very worried about it. Police actually start questioning Brian about where he last saw his wife, where did he think she was going, what happened before. And Brian is telling the police that those first few days in January, he had to drive his mother home after a recent surgery. He stated that his mother had recovered from the surgery quicker than expected and had to drive herself home. Now you got to remember, Brian has a ankle bracelet from where he's in trouble for stealing 2 Andy Warhol paintings. He has to get it approved before he can go anywhere. He claims that he got it approved to go visit her, and since things went wrong, he ran errands for her instead. So just take some of this stuff with a grain of salt because it's not super clear. He said he left his home without his phone. Remember, his wife is missing, so I'm guessing this is a time span that he's probably hiding something. And because he left his phone, he didn't have his GPS, and he got lost on the way to his mother's house. Doesn't seem right immediately. I mean, he visits his mom quite often, I'm sure. He tells investigators that he went to both Whole Foods and CVS that day, but investigators will actually look into what he said he did and find out there's no surveillance, no receipts, nothing showing him going to either of these stores. Meanwhile, police are searching around their property and in wooded areas not too far from their home. Brian will tell police that he never left his home at one point, and this is on January 2nd. Even though he said he never left his house, police will find surveillance later that show him shopping at a Home Depot. In that video, he is seen wearing a blue surgical mask, blue surgical gloves, and using cash to complete his purchase. In a report, it says this trip was actually made in violation of his probation conditions during the time he was allotted to pick up his kids from school. And investigators, they're discovering bit by bit that Brian's phone actually traveled from Brockton and another community, which is another violation of his probation. So remember, we know that Brian is a con man. That's a reason for his ankle bracelet. And now we're hearing that he's helping his mom after surgery, supposedly. He's doing all these things while his wife is missing. Not once have we heard that he's had any kind of concern as to where his wife is, that he's looked for her, or anything like that. Police have to treat this like a missing persons case because at this time they're still putting stuff together, but they can't really prove anything. In fact, they won't even get their surveillance video until later on. But once they do find that, well, this missing persons case is going to turn into a suspicious. Police look into the fact that Anna missed her flight January 3rd. Chief Quigley says she was supposed to get on the plane January 3rd, but there's no proof she ever got on a plane. Now, early on in this investigation, we didn't know much about Anna's phone. We were told her phone had been off since the first of the year and never given an exact date. Around January 4th, this is the day everything stops. Anna's boss called the police. They report Anna missing. So remember, her employer is a real estate company, Tishman, based out of Washington, D.C. In the police report, they say that employees in Washington, D.C. said that she hadn't shown up for work on January 4th. And remember, she said she was dealing with an emergency January 3rd. According to police, that was the first time anyone was notified that she was missing. So nearly 4 days later. Now, in the future here, January 9th, 2023, at Brian's arraignment, his attorney, Tracy Minor, will say that Brian actually called her boss to ask them about her whereabouts. So it sounds like the boss got suspicious, because since when does a business or a boss call in and concerned about a missing person? Not often. So good job. Around this time as well, her friends say that they noticed that her social media went silent. And that reschedule with her friend Carrie on January 5th, well, Anna doesn't show up. The red flags are popping up. And January 5th will be the official announcement of Anna Walshe missing. Authorities conduct a search at their home at Chief Justin Cushion Highway, as well as the surrounding areas. During their investigation, they really don't see any signs of Anna. They don't really say anything. At least they don't share it with us. They say that her husband is cooperating with police and investigators. And what is strange is Brian's attorney, well, she's hanging out at the house with him as they search the house for hours and hours and multiple times. January 6th, there's a press conference held, and Chief William Quigley spoke about the case a little bit, talked about the fact that they had K-9 units out and that multiple units were deployed to search and figure out where she went. This press conference was mainly held to reach out to the public for their help, because it seemed during this time they didn't find anything suspicious, though they were starting to get ideas that there's a possibility something isn't right with this missing persons case. But lawfully, their hands were bound. They reported that a family member in the house saw Anna that morning and saw her leave with a bag. Though police didn't tell us who that family member was, we're thinking it's probably one of the kids, but that's speculation. Somewhere in this timeline, investigators are starting to discover some very questionable things. They don't tell us where they find this, at least I don't know right now, but they find search inquiries on how to dispose of a 115-pound woman's body, how to dismember a body. That's according to a news source. Once they start seeing this, they start speculating or thinking something more happened to Anna. Chief Quigley at this press conference is more than willing to talk to reporters, which is odd. They ask him, do you suspect something else? He says, no, not really, but gives hints. Maybe, there's a possibility they're looking at something else. And they go back to, the fact that she may be missing. And if you're out there, Anna, all we need is a phone call to know you're okay. Of course, they never received that phone call. Police realize that it's not normal for her to be missing and feel as if she's in danger. She doesn't have any past mental health issues to be concerned about. And the fact that she's not gone missing, well, it just doesn't make sense. Meanwhile, as the story breaks, I'm thinking, and I know you are too, why is this guy not addressing it? Why isn't he talking to the media? Why is it that he's not concerned? And I said in the last video, well, all you have to do is know his background and that little scheme with the paintings. By January 6th, police have launched another search. It's from a parking lot at a Stop and Shop near the residence. That same day, an old residence at 725 Jerusalem Road has a fire breakout that they said was not suspicious, but a very strange coincidence. They continue to search the Walshe's home. They drain their pool. They look at a small stream, but they said they get negative results. Then the police announced that the ground search will not resume unless police develop new information that warrants it. We also learned that they had planned to change their strategy anyways, so we knew they found something. Sunday, January 8th. Investigators returned to the Walshe's home. It's around 9 a.m., and we learned that Brian, his attorney, is hanging out with him at the house for hours, or he's at her home. Kind of strange. Reporters actually note the fact that they see K9 units out there once again. They take photographs of the car. Then they start to see uniformed officers carrying out what appeared to be hiking gear. They are coming from a wooded area near the house. Then you see drones hovering over the property, as well as more investigators carrying a large plastic container, which comes out of the Walshe's home. According to the Globe, around 7 p.m., an investigator is seen shining their flashlight at the front of the building, scanning the side and roof line for about a minute. And before you know it, police have arrested Brian Walshe for misleading police. Authorities say that while conducting this investigation, they had probable cause to believe that Mr. Brian Walshe misled investigators, and it was said that he would be arraigned Monday morning the next day. And it moved quick because that's exactly what happened. About mid-morning, he appears in court, and let me tell you, a lot of people seen this man walking with police along each side of him with the most cocky smirk I've ever seen. This is supposed to be a man that his wife is missing and that he has nothing to do with it. Other people, other reporters had seen before he was arrested his kids giving custody to some woman, unidentified woman. His world is crashing down, yet he's got this horribly cocky smile. I'm going to share some clips for you. So according to police, before we share these clips, they said that his false statements or misleading statements was putting a delay in their investigation, saying that this give or allow him time to either clean up evidence, dispose of evidence, and that's according to the prosecutor of this case. We find out that they actually go to the basement of this house and they see human residue, and they also locate what they believe could be a weapon, a knife, which was damaged. But they never locate Anna. Anyhow, here's a little bit of a video clip of what happened in the courtroom that day.
Anna Walsh was last seen on New Year's Day about between 4 and 6 a.m. in the morning. The defendant indicated that she left the house to go, she works in Washington, D.C. The defendant indicated in the sub interview that she left the house around 6 a.m. taking an Uber or Lyft to go to the airport, where she was going to go to work in D.C. That was the last time she was seen. In the course of the investigation, police were notified around January 4th by her employees in Washington, D.C. that she had not shown up for work on January 4th. That was the first time that she was notified that she was missing. Up until this point, the defendant had not notified anyone that she was missing. In the investigation, it was determined that she actually had a plane ticket for January 3rd.
Remember, her husband said that she left the house around 4 a.m. or a little bit after. But police figure out that her phone pings inside the house the day that she was supposed to have left and the next day after.
It was determined that her cell phone pinged in the area of the house, which is located on Chief Justice Cushing Way, that her phone pinged on the 1st and the 2nd, which is after the defendant had said she had left.
So I'm not going to play a lot of this for you. You can look it up and find it online. But basically, they say investigators bust him lying about his whereabouts, and then later discover something at the house that made things seem very suspicious. It starts off with a surveillance tape from Home Depot.
He's on surveillance at that time, purchasing about $450 worth of cleaning supplies. That would include mops, bucket, tops, T-Vex, drop cloths, as well as various kinds of tape. Police obtained a search warrant and actually searched the house with crime scene services. During that time, they found blood in the basement. Blood was found in the basement area, as well as a knife, which also contained some blood. And part of the knife was damaged. Your Honor, these various statements caused a delay in the investigation, to the point that during the time frame when he didn't report his wife and gave various statements, that allowed him time to either clean up evidence, dispose of evidence.
They asked for a $500K bond or bail. Now, the defense attorney takes the stand, or the mic, and this one, well, I had some questions. His attorney says the reason why she was reported missing was because he contacted her employer, and as if that made him look better.
Of Mr. Walsh, Brian Walsh, contacting the employer to say, I haven't heard from my wife. The employer suggested that their security team, who was a former law enforcement officer, contact both the Cohasset Police and the DC Metro Police, which he did.
According to his attorney, well, she's with him a lot of the hours that the police investigators are searching the home, but she didn't seem to know what was going on.
I need to demote you. Lynn Beeland, on the terms of that, to protect attorney-client, he has been incredibly cooperative. The charges are not anything relating, he's not charged with murder. He's charged with misleading investigators by not saying, as I understand it, he went to Home Depot in Rockland. With respect to the other alleged omission is that he was in Brockton and Abington. They don't have him stopping anywhere in those areas as far as the police report says. He did say that he took his son out twice on the 2nd. He is on home confinement. He has a bracelet on him. A violation has been noticed of him, so if he leaves here, there's a federal detainer. He will be taken to federal court, and I would suggest that on the bail violations in federal court, the appropriate place to decide those conditions of release is in the federal court. I would ask for low bail or no bail.
So she suggests that there be low bail or no bail, and it did not take long. As soon as her butt hit that chair, the judge had already decided he isn't getting out or off that easy.
Dealt with in the federal court. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Bail is set at $500,000 cash, $5 million surety.
So we're learning a little bit more information, and every day police are finding more and more evidence that is piling up against Anna's husband, and things are not looking so hot right now. This is not the direction a lot of people wanted this case to go, but sadly, you kind of knew it once you seen him show up at the court hearing yesterday. There is search activity conducted on the north side of Boston yesterday, some today. A number of items that are being actually tested and processed. And they said that no information will be disclosed at this time on those items that were collected. They capture authorities wearing protective suits and police officers with their canines searching a facility on Newberry Street yesterday. We are told that investigators are about finished processing the Walshe home. They expect it to be finished either yesterday or sometime today. And there's no anticipated change or adjustment in charges at this time. You got to wait until I finish making this video because that's the way it usually goes. Here's a few rumors that they're sharing that they did possibly find a hatchet, hacksaw, more residue in the Peabody trash facility. In fact, we do know is they are in hazmat suits searching through this very taxing, disgusting area, and it must be very incredible, difficult finding what you may expect, smaller pieces, small amounts of trace evidence. But right now they're on their way to building quite a bit of circumstantial evidence. So all we can do is hope that these families that go through this type of thing, they have 3 children, 3 young children. So if this was to turn out as bad as you suspect, the children always lose in cases like this. A lot of people are suspecting that possibly, he was jealous about something and allegedly might have did something because he was angry with her. That's the rumors going around, but right now we have no information. Police, once they started getting the tips they needed, well, they went tight-lipped. So right now they're collecting what they need in order to process and probably change the charges and hopefully find answers. So my love goes out to all the people that were affected by this, including friends and family. I uploaded an audio file from Brian's, him calling a friend concerned about his wife's well-being. You can check that out too if you'd like. Guys, I'm not kidding you. I have spent over 24 hours working on this video for you. If you like my work, please take time to at least like it, subscribe, share it, or you can help us by donating to Patreon, Chasing a Murderer. Thank you so much.